Good evening and welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. I would like to call this meeting to order at 7:05 today, March 22nd, 2022. If I could invite Mr. Gamache to please read the pledge.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Caden Green is a fifth grade student at Rame Avenue. I'm also going to add that he's one of our best football players on Coach Joe's and my team, and he's a really great kid. He's a member of Mathletes, Art Club, Before School Sports, and Chess Club. Outside of school, Caden enjoys playing outside and playing basketball. His favorite food is noodles. Caden is looking forward to his upcoming trip to Georgia over the April break. Caden, please come on up and say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Thank you so much, Caden. Okay, I would now like to turn the meeting over to Superintendent Louise for tonight's presentation.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Hagan. So, just wait for this to. Warm up. Oh, here we go. Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. Tonight, I have a true pleasure to speak about our Universal Pre-Kindergarten program. The UPK program was begun this year. It was a new program for the district. Universal Pre-Kindergarten, I'm sure you've heard a lot about it on the news. New York City has full Universal Pre-Kindergarten. Funding for this began many, many years ago, but unfortunately, when districts did not apply for it years ago, the funding was frozen, and I think it was 2008, and districts who had not been receiving funds could no longer apply for it. So our district had been one of the districts way back when that, for whatever reason, did not apply. So each year that I've been here, we call up the state and we ask, are there going to be more funds released? Our district would like to participate, and the answer has always been no. Fortunately, last year, included in the state budget was funding for full-day UPK, or Universal Pre-Kindergarten, and we were one of the districts that received it and were able to now participate. So we are thrilled. This is such an important program, and so we want you to learn a little bit about it tonight. Obviously, the purpose of pre-kindergarten is to build a strong foundation for our students entering kindergarten. And our program is a little bit unique, and I will tell you why in a minute. But I had some wonderful parents who agreed to give us some testimonials so that you could learn about it from their perspective.
Hi, my name is Teresa Castro, and my daughter attends the pre-K program at Center Avenue. I just have to say, I love this program so much. It creates a perfect balance between working on academic skills as well as social skills. So my daughter goes to school every day, learning so much great stuff while having so much fun at the same time. And for me, one of the most important things is that my daughter is happy. And she is. She is so happy going to school every day, so happy to see her friends, and so happy to see her amazing, amazing teacher. And as a parent, for me, that's all I can ask for. So thank you for bringing this program to East Rockaway.
So thank you, Mrs. Castro. We appreciate your comments. So as I said before, it is a New York State early childhood initiative that's focused on the educational development of 4-year-olds. Giving 4-year-olds the opportunity. Many families send their children to pre-K, but it's at quite a cost. As we all know, prices have gone up and it is expensive, and not all families can afford to go to pre-K, although many, many families in the East Rockaway community do attend pre-kindergarten, and it is something that we track. We look at that when our kindergarten students come in, how many of them have gone to pre-kindergarten, and there is a big difference in the level of development in students who have attended pre-K and those that have not. Our program is a full-day program that promotes language skills, early literacy skills, cognitive, physical, social, and emotional skills. So it gives kids really the whole gamut of being with one another, learning how to function in a classroom. And, you know, we saw during COVID that when our kindergarten class came in, not having had pre-K, because many of them, you know, you really can't do pre-K remotely. It was difficult enough to do school-age children remotely. And so the behavior and the skill level of our students was a challenge. And so we know that pre-K absolutely does make a difference. We hope that by the end of the first year in the program, students will exceed the criteria that's established for their age, and they will be ready to enter into kindergarten very well prepared. So our program, we received the funding very late last year. It was approved in the New York State budget, and by the time everything got rolling, that was the budget was approved in April, and then our budget was approved, and I will explain why. We waited until then. We didn't launch our lottery, and I'll explain that, until June. And so districts have the opportunity to either run their program themselves or run it through what's called a community-based organization. And we chose to do that for several reasons. We get $5,400 per student to run UPK, and we were given 26 spots for pre-kindergarten. So that would mean it was too much for one class, but it was to run two classes at 13 students each would have been very, very difficult in the amount of money that we received. It was about $144,000, Mrs. Grillo. And so to hire two teachers, to hire two teaching assistants, because the programs do come with very, very specific guidelines that we must follow, New York State regulations. In order to run the program, it has to meet specific criteria. The funding that we received from the state would not have covered the costs had we run the program ourselves, hiring teachers, hiring teaching assistants, purchasing all of the equipment. So we chose the option of going out for an RFP, and Scope applied, and they were selected. And Scope Educational Services is a nonprofit organization that really supports school districts across Long Island in many, many different ways. You may know that our aftercare program at our elementary schools is run by Scope, and we have a lot of confidence in them. We've had a wonderful relationship. They're very supportive, responsible, and they also run preschools, and I think it's over 30 different districts. So we knew that they had a tried and true model and again, based on our relationships with Scope, we felt that it was the best way to go. It was also the most economical way to go. So for this, you know that there may be 3-year-old programs and 4-year-old programs. The funding for this program was only for 4-year-old children who would turn 4 by December 1st of the year that they would be entering pre-K, would be eligible. It is, like I said, funded by money in the grant from New York State, and students must be selected by a lottery. This year we had over 50, we had, I think, 56 families apply for basically 30 spots that we had. So unfortunately, we did have to turn some families away. There is a lot of talk at the state level, federal level, that there would be increased funding for universal pre-kindergarten in the coming years. So we would look forward to that. That might create a little bit of a space challenge for our elementary schools. So it is something that we have to plan for the future moving forward, is if we were to get more funding, we would never turn down funding, but we would have a challenge in terms of where to house the classes. Districts also have the option of outsourcing the program. In a prior district that I was in, we actually, they call it flow through the money to an existing preschool, and then we would conduct the same lottery, but the students would attend an established preschool within the boundaries of the school district. For various reasons, we chose not to do that. We really wanted the program in our own school. We wanted the kids to have the full experience so that they could acclimate and then transition seamlessly into kindergarten. So there were options. We felt at this time the way we ran the program was the best, and I think it's turned out to be. So again, to go back to the 26 numbers, the 26 spots, so to speak, that we had, it would have resulted in one class of 13 in each of our schools. That wasn't economically feasible for Scope. And so we negotiated with them that if the district funded 4 spots, we would go up to 15 that were fully funded. So we have 26 that are funded by the state grant, and the district out of our own budget funds 4 spots so that we could run a viable program through Scope. We then, because the classes are capped at 18 with 1 teacher and 1 teaching assistant, we negotiated with Scope that in order to reach the number of 18, we would open up 3 spots for self-pay by parents. And we did do that. And parents were very happy because it was economical. The cost is $5,400 a year, $540 a month. And that is more economical than most full-day preschools. The program does run from 9 until 2. So even for some half-day programs, that's definitely a bargain. So we were very pleased that the board agreed and the budget was able to support those additional spots. And that's what we have now is 1 class at Rame and 1 class at Center Avenue, each with 18 students. If a student does leave the program during the year, someone moves or for whatever reason, someone drops out of the program, we then go back to the lottery list. We're obligated to keep that list for the whole entire year. And this year we did have someone, maybe 1 or 2 students move, and then we were able to open it up and invite the next 2 students who are on the list to participate in the program free of charge. So again, we do have 30 spots that are fully funded. So it's a wonderful gift to our community and something that this community deserves. The program runs from Monday through Friday. It follows the school calendar. It's actually, we have 180 days per year. So during 2 of our superintendent's conference days, there are classes. So this coming Friday, we have superintendent's conference day for K-12. Students are off, but the preschool students will come in because that's a requirement of the grant that they attend. As we said, it's a 5-hour instructional program. Lunch is provided free of charge to all students, and Scope, for the cost of running the program, they provide 2 snacks for students during the day. They also provided all of the materials. The only thing we had to provide to open the classrooms was the furniture. So you'll see some pictures. The classes are rich and very active, and there's fabulous materials and lots of opportunities for free play as well as learning and social emotional development. So we really, I think, got a great opportunity by partnering with Scope. So let's hear Mrs. Tavermina, who is a Rame Avenue parent. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Ashley Tavermina. My son Russell attends the Universal Pre-K program at Rame Avenue School. The Pre-K program has not only encouraged my son academically, but socially and emotionally as well. He wakes up eager and excited for school every day, and I attribute that to the terrific support he receives from his teachers and the positive environment at Rame Avenue School. I could not have asked for a better program to prepare my son for kindergarten, and for that, I am truly grateful.
I like that. We want happy and grateful families here, so it's a win-win. The curriculum is based on, many people may not know this, but we know we have standards for learning. There are pre-K standards for learning, and the program does follow those. It's a balance of academic as well as social, emotional learning, behavioral learning, which is very important. We don't want an overly academic program for 4-year-olds because they're not ready for that, but we certainly want readiness skills. So there's music, movement, purposeful play, hands-on activities that are integrated throughout the day. Instruction is delivered much like our classrooms in the elementary school and in individual students to small and to large groups, because that is going to mirror what they will receive when they move into kindergarten and 1st grade. So a lot of the structure and the structure of the program really does mirror our early childhood grades. There is teacher and child guided instruction, which you'll see in some of the pictures, and the instruction is differentiated for learning styles for all children. As you can imagine, 4-year-olds don't sit and listen to a teacher talking for a long period of time. They want to be active and move around, so there's a lot of opportunity for that. Although there is some direct instruction, they do learn how to listen to the teacher and follow the rules. It was the first day of school was just absolutely adorable. When I visited, they were kind of scattered all over. It was great. It was, what you would expect for 4-year-olds coming into a new environment the first time. And the teacher is like grabbing them all in to try to get them all together. And when I visited again, it's unbelievable how well behaved and organized, and they understand the routines and they follow the routines. And it was really beautiful to see how much these children have grown and how happy they are, as our parents have said. So these are some of the readiness skills for kindergarten that they do follow. So letter and sound recognition is important. Many kids do come into kindergarten these days knowing their letters and sounds, which really helps with literacy development. Language is critical to literacy and to following directions and all kinds of future skills. It's really the basis for learning. And it's thrilling to know that they're doing STEAM activities, also social emotional skills. They learn how to share, how to get along with one another, how to take turns, and those behaviors that are important. And of course, they work on fine and gross motor skills indoors as well as outdoors. This is a typical daily schedule. I won't read it, but as you could see, it's a very structured program. Kids like predictability. It's important for them to have a predictable schedule. And, this, again, is a very structured day. But within that time, you'll see there's center time. There's 2 opportunities for center time and a lot of choice. So students can choose what they want to do within the schedule when they're not doing whole group activities. So this is, I think, one of the center time activities. There's a block corner, there's a kitchen corner, the things that you really want to see in a preschool. We don't want it to be overly academic. It's so important that they have free play because that develops creativity, language skills, and independence, aside from many other important skills. As I said, center time. So the teacher uses the new line or the smart board. Kids know where they need to go. I think there's some self-choice here as to what they can pick they like to do. But there's also, there are those kids who go to the block corner every single day. So we want to differentiate for them and encourage them to try some of the other skills. And so it's a combination of working independently or working in small groups and working on choice activities as well as teacher directed activities, or I should say assigned activities. This is something that clearly is an important part of everything, of every grade in our school district, and that is parent involvement. And of course, especially at the younger grades, parents are a very important part of the team. And these are some of the opportunities for parents to engage with the program. And we hope that next year, with COVID being over, or I shouldn't say over, I guess that's wishful thinking, but at least we're moving forward. We hope that we'll be able to continue to open our doors and have greater family engagement in our schools, especially in the younger grades. But these are some of the activities that, if they didn't all happen this year, will be happening and definitely will be happening next year. So again, progress reports are distributed twice a year, just like in kindergarten and moving up. It's important that families know how their kids are doing. So feedback is given, meetings are held. There are newsletters. Every classroom has a cell phone with scope number. So although it is run by Scope, it's obviously housed in our building, but they take a lot of responsibility for communication with the families because they're little guys. And if there is something that the parent needs to, that the teacher needs to get in touch with for the child, if the child's not feeling well, that communication happens immediately by the teacher with the phone that's provided by Scope. And I think that's important. The teachers are also CPR and first aid certified, which is important as well. So it's really a self-contained program. Classes are very conscious about allergies, as we are in our school. So this is great to hear for us, because we have really increased our awareness of allergies throughout our district, and SCOPE supports that as well. They follow the same security procedures that we do. So anyone who is picked up early, they must be a listed adult and they must show ID. So safety and security is aligned with our district expectations. And we now have Mrs. Heel.
Hi, my name is Christine, and my son attends Ream Avenue. The UPK program and his teacher, Miss Jones, are absolutely fantastic. It's clear the program supports a good balance of academic, social, and behavioral learning. We're confident that Logan is already prepared for kindergarten in the fall, and it's great to see him so excited about learning. He comes home every day having had a great day at Ream Avenue.
Thank you, Mrs. Heel. And I have one more parent. We love to see dads commenting. So, Mr.
Hi,
Roth.
my name is Vince, and my son goes to Ream Avenue. Having two older girls at Ream as well, who never went through a pre-K program, made our decision to send our son to one a little difficult. You know, while we knew he was ready for school, we selfishly wanted to keep him home prior to his his last year before kindergarten. But when the opportunity arose to put him in a program at a school that our two girls love, we jumped at the chance. And I have to tell you, we're so happy we did. Our son wakes up every morning, eager to learn, eager to go to school, comes home with a giant smile on his face and a story to tell us about everything that's happened throughout the day. He loves his teachers. He's made such great friendships at such an early age already. It makes us that much more comfortable sending him to kindergarten next year, knowing his experience there is going to be that much more fulfilling. The only negative I could say is I wish this was available for, our two older girls. I really think they would have loved it too. But thanks for the great job you're doing. And we look forward to continuing this program for many other kids in the future, as I know they'll probably have just as a great experience as our son did too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. So you get a picture of how the parents are viewing the program. Obviously, we haven't had any concerns expressed, at least to me. And we had parents who were very willing to share what their experiences were. And as I said, you can see the smiling faces of our students. I think kindergarten, first day of kindergarten will be a little bit different next year, because we have, I think we have about 40, we have about 60 students registered. Registration is a little bit low for kindergarten. We will have more coming, rolling in. But you can see that more than half of our kindergarten students already have had the experience of going to school every day in our buildings. And that's amazing. We do hope that will continue. We would love to be able to provide, I know you would love for us to be able to provide pre-K for every single student in the school district. And we hope that is the direction that the state is going in. Of course, the program is dependent upon the funding coming this year from the state. The budget has not been voted on yet, but we expect that it will be forthcoming. We have accounted for the additional spots in our budget. And as I said, those additional 3 spots in each of our schools will be open to parents who were included in the lottery, but unfortunately did not get a free spot. And so with that, I would like to invite our principals up just to say a few words and to introduce our teachers who are here with us tonight, because we really admire the job that they've done. They've come in. So can I have our teachers come up as well? Mrs. Jones, Ms. Jones and Ms. Kellogg.
Thank you. So we are really grateful for the pre-K program. I'm Mrs. Kelly from Center Avenue. Ms. Kellogg is our pre-K teacher, and we have to say that the relationships that not only Ms. Kellogg has made with our teachers is going to support us with our transition into kindergarten. We look forward to the opportunity for her to work with our kindergarten teachers at the end of our school year to really support the students moving up next school year. But the most special part is watching our students walk through the building. All they do is walk, say hi to our security Bob, and everyone here. They know everyone's name. They say hi to everyone. They're so comfortable. And that's the most important thing, is that they're comfortable. They feel welcome. And that's all we can ask for. So we look forward to the continued relationships and the team building that we have having our pre-K with us. So thank you, Ms. Kellogg, for your dedication. This is Ms. Kellogg.
I'd have to say that Rabe Avenue, we have the same experience. I met with my kindergarten team this morning because we're getting ready for orientation and screening. And when I told them, we're going to have a chance to actually talk to Miss Jones, who was our pre-K teacher, they were so excited. One of them said, I was outside of her classroom and I heard her kid saying, apple, B, bat. So they were so excited that we're going to get half of our kindergartners. We have 39 right now coming in. More than half of them will be students who've already been in our building. And I think for me as a principal, the most important part of having these very little children who, I don't usually do the real little ones, but what's been really exciting about having them here is every day they're excited to come onto the blacktop. They're excited to come into the building, the connections and the relationships that they're making. Being able to educate children, it starts with being able to connect to them and being able to form a really strong and solid relationship. They're already developing those. They're excited to see their friends. They're excited to see Mr. Jerry in the morning. They're excited to see me. And getting to know the younger siblings of my students is also fun because I can see my older students in a different light as they're excited to see their siblings in the school. So Universal Pre-K has been great for us. We're really looking forward to that continuity of them coming into the big kids school, already knowing what it takes to be a solid Rame Avenue star. So we look forward to many more years of universal pre-K at our school.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for all you do. You should really give them another round of applause. I will tell you, I remember 9 years starting here, walking into the building, starting new in a job, and they really came and hit the ground running. And I give these teachers so much credit for what they've done. And like I said, it was like herding cats. On the first day, if you remember, Mrs. Jones, I was there and in your class, it was like, they were all over the place. And to see how far they've come it's just unbelievable. So kudos to both of you, and thank you, and your assistants as well, who are not here with us tonight. So what are our next steps? Obviously, we always want to do more. We always want to grow and continue moving forward in a positive direction. And so we hope that we can build in some collaborative activities with other classes. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, COVID made that difficult. Scope did follow some very, very stringent guidelines for the UPK classes, and they, followed the guidelines that they had established, which was part of, our agreement with them, which was fine. But as we move forward next year, we would like to buddy up our students with some older students, possibly for story time and different kinds of activities where they can have an opportunity to interact with their older peers. Siblings Day, all kinds of different things that we can plan for. And I know our teachers are excited as well. Greater parent engagement. Again, we invite all of our UPK parents to join the PTA. Just a plug, it's important that you're part of our PTA and part of our school community and community engagement, and start bringing your kids to all of the different events that we will be hosting now that we're back on track. And this is really important, greater opportunities for meaningful curriculum alignment with our district programs. So we have a unique opportunity, even though Scope has a curriculum and they provide all the resources and materials, we can augment and we can use some of the programs that we have and maybe push them down if they're age appropriate to the UPK class. I know I heard today that one of our teachers is interested in starting to use thinking maps. So how great is that? Because we know we use that K-12. Well, we'll be using it pre-K-12. So we're very happy to support that and provide training and integration of different curriculum initiatives where appropriate. In addition, we always monitor our student progress. We do get a lot of data, not that we give standardized tests to pre-K students, but we track our students. As I said before, we know which students went to pre-K and which students did not. And as I said, we do see a difference. And starting in kindergarten, we do administer standardized assessments, and we start to track their progress. And so it will be interesting to see how these students fare on the kindergarten screening, because we will still need to screen them, as opposed to children who've gone to other preschools, maybe a half-day preschool, maybe a 3-day preschool. And I would imagine that these students, based on what I've seen and the strong curriculum and the strong instruction and structure of the program, will fare very well when they get into kindergarten. And that's great for our kids. They will have a head start. And we'll follow these students as they move up into kindergarten and first grade, just to see, are there any differences in the achievement of these students who have had this rich program? Because hopefully if the funding does not come through, it always could be a program that, if the district were able to fund, we could down the road possibly fund more seats for UPK. And of course, that would be, something we would have to look very carefully at, because, a lot of parents ask me, well, why don't you have a UPK program? Why does Mineola have UPK for all? Well, many districts do fund their own programs. They build it into the budget. We've just not been able to do that. So maybe this is, we hope that more funding will come forward. That would be the best case scenario, but we can see the value in this. And it may be something that the board and the next superintendent and Mrs. Griot may want to consider as the district moves forward to expand it on our own. Because it was really hard, having the lottery and watching some sad faces whose families did not get a free spot for this coming year. But that concludes my presentation. Does the board have any questions or comments?
Does the school provide opportunity for the teachers who currently have in the program, if they're, well received by the district themselves, to stay in the district, or is that always decided by school?
You mean placing them? We would hope that our teachers will return next year. We love the job that they're doing, and of course, when we are begin planning for next year, we would hope that they would stay on.
So they provide that opportunity?
Yes. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Comments? Audience, any questions from the community? Okay. Well, thank you again to our teachers, Ms. Kellogg and Ms. Jones, and to our principals for doing such a great job supporting this program.
Superintendent Ruiz, I have to thank you for that presentation. That's something we've needed in this community for quite some time, and I think that it's unbelievable. I'm proud that you brought that to us last year as a possibility, and I think that watching it grow will be tremendous for the youngest community members, so thank you so much.
Thank you. It was definitely on my bucket list for the district, so I'm pleased that before I leave, you were able to implement it.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on, we're going to move down to item number 3, public comments on agenda items. If you are viewing the live stream of tonight's meeting and you have questions regarding items on the agenda or other school-related items, you can email them to boardofelducation@ersd.org. This email will be monitored throughout the evening. Please be sure to include your full name and address. I also want to remind you that most concerns are appropriately addressed with your child's teacher and/or building principal. Other general district questions should be directed to Mrs. Ruiz, our superintendent. Matters involving curriculum and instruction should be addressed to Mr. DiTomaso, and matters involving budget and facilities should be directed to Ms. Scrio. If you need technological assistance or have issues with a device, please reach out to Mr. Fisk. Anyone who is attending in person, if you would like to make any comments on agenda items, please complete a comment card. At this time, are there any comments regarding to agenda items? Okay, moving on to item number 4, approval of minutes. Are there any questions regarding the minutes from last month's meeting?
Nope, no questions.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. McNally, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Volpez, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Moving on to item number 5, acknowledgement of monthly reports and correspondence. We, A, received the monthly financial reports and correspondence. We received an email from a monitor regarding a mask issue. We received emails from 7 community members regarding masks in schools and a letter to Governor Hochul from the Board of Ed prior to the lifting of the mask mandate. An email from a community member in regard to rock rivalry spectators prior to the lifting of the mask mandate. An invitation from Kiwanis to an event on March 21st for police appreciation, honoring NCPD-PO Jennifer Akron. An email from a community member regarding vaccines and COVID testing. 11 emails from community members for the displaying of a political flag at sports night. An email from the ERTA. An email from Mr. Schaefer. An email from the ERSA. An email from a parent regarding the high school mock regents exams. And an email promoting an interactive leadership conference offered on Long Island. Are there any questions regarding the correspondence?
Nope.
No.
No, just thank you for sharing those with us.
Okay. I'd now like to turn this over to Superintendent Ruiz for recommendations.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Hagan. Tonight, we recommend that the board accept with regret the resignation for the purpose of retirement of Frank Catita from his foreign language teacher position effective June 30th, 2022. Also recommending that the board accept with regret the resignation of Antonella Keene for the purpose of retirement from her 10-month senior typist clerk position effective June 30th, 2022. Recommending that the board accept the following resignations: Tiffany Denome, world language teacher, effective March 20th, 2022, and Madison Radinsky, permanent substitute teacher, effective March 2nd, 2022. Also recommending that the board accept the resignation of elementary teacher Christina Ranieri, effective April 13th, 2022. So recommending the board approve a change to the effective date of Rebecca Pagan Rodriguez's resignation for the purpose of retirement to October 12th, 2022. Recommending the board approve the FMLA leave of absence for Rebecca Pagan Rodriguez from her foreign language teacher position effective February 28th through April 29th, 2022. Recommending the board approve the request of Caitlin Kowarski for a 12-week FMLA leave of absence from her ENL teacher position effective March 11th through June 13th, 2022, and thereafter a child rearing leave of absence through June 30th, 2022. Also recommending the board approve the request of Kelly Cabasso for a personal medical leave of absence from her art teacher position effective March 15th through April 24th, 2022. Recommending the board approve the appointment of Jacqueline Brightfeller to the position of short-term substitute art teacher effective March 15th through April 13th. Recommending the board approve the appointment of Brandon Tompkin to the position of permanent substitute teacher effective March 23rd through June 30th, 2022. Also recommend the board approve the appointment of Priscilla Prince Sitzman, to the position of permanent substitute teacher effective March 23rd through June 30th, 2022. Recommend that the board approve the revised East Rockaway High School Club advisor assignments for the 2021-22 school year at the stipend salary established by the East Rockaway Teachers Association. And recommend that the board approve the following proctor assignments effective May 2nd through June 24th at the supervision salary rate established by the East Rockaway Teachers Association contract, and that is Elizabeth Stack and Mary Orzano. Also recommend the board approve the appointment of Yigal Edinger to the position of supervising groundskeeper effective upon civil service approval, and recommending that the board approve the appointment of Carol Hernandez to the position of part-time senior typist clerk, 12 months effective March 7th, 2022, at the prorated Step 12 annual salary set forth in the East Rockaway Secretaries Association Agreement.
Thank you, Superintendent Lees. Are there any questions from the board regarding the recommendations made by the superintendent?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve item 6, letters A through N?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. DiMatteo. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kilgus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So moved. Moving on to item number 7, other items. A, approve the corrected 2022-23 school district calendar. B, approve the following resolution. Rather than read the entire resolution, in summary, this is a resolution to adopt the revised return to learn plan to reflect that we are now mask optional. C, approve the following resolution to authorize the expenditure for the Capital Reserve Fund for Technology Replacement 2 proposition. Whereas the Board of Education of the East Rockaway Union Free School District has determined that there is a need to undertake certain technology upgrades to commence during the 22-23 school year, as described in the outline contained in the 2022-23 budget proposal on file and available for public inspection in the office of the district clerk. This proposition will be voted on by the community when they vote for the district budget. Item D, approve the following resolution and proposition for establishing a new capital reserve fund for building improvements and repairs 3. Whereas the Board of Education of the East Rockaway Union Free School District has determined that there is a need to create a new capital reserve fund to cover, in whole or in part, the cost of future capital improvements, renovations, and/or alterations of school district facilities and property. And whereas the board desires that propositions be presented to the voters of the school district authorizing the establishment of capital reserve funds for said purposes. So this is a resolution to establish a new capital reserve fund, and this proposition will also be voted on by the community when they vote for the budget. Item E, approve the notice of budget hearing and annual district election of the East Rockaway UFSD and the publication of such notice as required by law in the Oceanside, Rockville Center, East Rockaway Tribune, and the Lynbrook, East Rockaway Herald. F, approve the following resolution. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of Education of the East Rockaway UFSD authorizes and appoints the following individuals to serve in the capacity of election poll workers in connection with the May 17, 2022 annual school district meeting and election at the salary set forth for the non-contractual salary schedule for the 2021-22 school year. Item G, approve the following resolution. Whereas on April 21st, 2020, the Board of Education accepted proposals for the service providers listed below pursuant to a cooperative request for proposal for special education-related services for the 2020-2021 school year in accordance with the applicable provisions of the general municipal law, and authorize the district to enter into formal agreements with said service providers for their respective services for the 2020-21 school year. And whereas the RFP authorizes the Board of Education to renew its agreements with service providers for additional one-year periods upon the existing terms and conditions, including price, provided that in the event that the service provider incurs additional expenses that require a price increase in subsequent years, the service provider may request an annual increase not to exceed the district's allowable growth factor for the school year now. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the district to renew its existing agreements with the providers indicated below for the 2022-23 school year in accordance with the terms of the RFP and this resolution, and authorizes the board president to execute such renewal agreements. And then we have a list of the providers. Item H, approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the East Rockaway Union Free School District hereby approves the terms and conditions of the memorandum of agreement dated March 22nd, 2022, between the Board of Education of the East Rockaway Union Free School District and the East Rockaway Custodial Unit regarding the creation of the new job title of Supervising Groundskeeper. Are there any questions on items 7A through H? Okay, can I have a motion to approve item 7A through H? So moved by Mr. McNally, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Volpus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Moving on to item 7I. Approve the renewal license agreement with Scope Educational Services for the after-school childcare program for the 2022-23 school year, and authorize the President of the Board of Education to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. J, approve the terms and conditions of the letter of engagement between CBIZ Valuation Group, LLC, and the East Rockaway Union Free School District for valuation of land and buildings for the 2021-22 school year, and authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations to execute the letter of engagement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. K, approve the Affordable Care Act Administration Agreement between the East Rockaway Union Free School District and Seneca Consulting Group Incorporated for administrative services related to the Affordable Care Act for the 2022-23 school year, and authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. L, approve the award of the bid dated March 3rd, 2022, between Dell Transportation Corporation and East Rockaway UFSD for transportation services to Sequoia High School, and authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations to execute the resulting contract on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. M, approve the health and welfare agreement between East Rockaway UFSD and Rockwell Center UFSD for the health and welfare services for the 2021-22 school year, and authorize the superintendent and the president of the Board of Education to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. N, approve the parking stall lease agreement between the East Rockaway UFSD and Rolling River Day School and Camp for the use of parking stalls located at the East Rockaway Junior Senior High School for the period May 21st, 2022 through October 22nd, 2022, and authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations to execute the agreement on behalf of the East Rockaway Board of Education. O, approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the president of the Board of Education is authorized to establish the Richard J. Marr School Spirit Award to be awarded to one student who embodies East Rockaway High School spirit and who will be continuing their education in the teaching field. P, approve the purchase of the following textbook, College Physics, A Strategic Approach. Q, declare obsolete for the purpose of disposal the items listed on the following forms. You have numbers 1 through 10. R, approve the following donations. 1, Hack Attack pitching machine valued at $3,848 from Chris Harmus, class of 1976 for the baseball program. 2, from the Rame Avenue PTA, a curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $50 for classroom supplies. 3, from Center Avenue PTA, a curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $76 for classroom supplies. B, a curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $500 towards a 5th grade class trip. C, curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $50.72 for classroom supplies. A curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $35.98 for classroom supplies for the music room. A curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $50 for classroom supplies. A curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $51.75 for classroom supplies. And a curriculum enhancement grant in the sum of $500 for a 4th grade class trip to Old Bethpage. Are there any questions in item number 7, I through R?
Nope, no.
Can I have a motion to approve item 7, I through R?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Kilgus, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiMatteo, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Moving on to item number 8, approval of CSE, CPSE recommendations, which were emailed home. Are there any questions from the board?
Nope, no.
Can I have a motion to approve item 8, CSE and CPSE recommendations? So moved by Mr. McNally, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Volpus, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Moving on to item number 9, budget transfers. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approves the following budget transfers, 1 through 3. Are there any questions from the board in regard to the budget transfers?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve item number 9?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. DiMatteo, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kilgus, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So moved. Okay, moving on to item number 10, policy matters. There are no policies up for adoption this evening. There are 11 policies up for review. The next policy meeting will be held, I believe I just got the date of April 7th. I'm pretty sure that's what's on the calendar. So April 7th will be the next date for policy. And now we are moving on to reports. Okay, I am going to start with the president's report tonight. So first, I want to update the community on the superintendent search. An invitation was sent to all stakeholder group leaders to form a district advisory committee. The second round of screenings commenced on Thursday, March 4th, and 8 applicants were screened. On Tuesday, March 8th, the board met with Mr. Lederer to discuss the screenings and to plan for the next round of interviews. The board interviewed 4 applicants on March 16th. 3 candidates will move on to be interviewed by the District Advisory Committee on March 29th, and the board will then review stakeholder input. And then I just have some general remarks. So due to the nature of the last board meeting, there were a couple of individuals that should have been recognized by the board at the end of the evening. Congratulations to Carol Hernandez on your retirement and to Jennifer Isick on receiving tenure. This is an exciting time in both of your lives, and we wish you much luck as you move forward in your journeys. Last month, Mr. Kennedy also presented on thinking maps, and he explained in detail how this initiative is being used to further enhance the critical thinking and learning taking place in the district. I have always been impressed with this particular initiative as both a parent and a teacher. Thank you again for sharing with us how thinking maps continue to benefit the students. This evening, Superintendent Ruiz presented on the Universal Pre-K program. Seeing the excitement and the love for school on our youngest learners, or in our youngest learners, is incredible, and we look forward to the continued growth of this program in the East Rockaway schools. We have 2 very important events coming up in the district. The first is Safety and Social Media Forum that will take place on Thursday, March 31st at 6 p.m. here in the auditorium. And I believe there are flyers down here for anybody that would like. Dinner will be served at 5 p.m. Babysitting will be available, and there will be prizes for both kids and adults. This is an opportune time for parents to accompany their children and to hear from numerous individuals about the misuse of social media platforms, the ramifications, and the implications of improper usage. This is something that should not be taken lightly. As we have seen time and again, it is very easy to press a button and post. Kids growing up in the digital age do not fully understand how these posts follow them throughout life. I urge you all to attend the Safety and Social Media Forum next Thursday. The second event, the grand opening of the athletic complex, will take place on Saturday, April 2nd. The day will begin with the Education Foundation's 5K run walk. There will be a softball game in the morning and a baseball game in the afternoon, with various events for all ages throughout the day. Thank you to Mr. Gregory and your committee for working so hard to make this day special. I would like to transition now to the budget vote and trustee election. First, a big thank you goes to Mrs. Scria for all of your hard work and expertise. You do a tremendous job ensuring the district is in excellent financial standing, not only for the upcoming school year, but planning long-term as well. You are transparent in all you do and explain each and every component to the board and the community each month. Whenever we have questions or need clarification, you are always there with the answers. We appreciate all that you continue to do. This year's budget vote and trustee election will take place on Tuesday, May 17th. There are 2 seats up this term, myself and Mr. McNally. For those interested in running for the board, nomination packets are available in the district clerk's office. Candidates for the Board of Education run at large. You must file your petition with the district clerk no later than 5 p.m. on Monday, April 18th. This information can also be found on the district website under the BOE tab. Thank you. Moving on, Superintendent Ruiz.
Thank you, Ms. Sohagan. So our Strategic Planning Committee met in February. We held our second meeting, and we will meet again this Thursday, March 24th at 6 p.m. in this building. If anybody would still like to join, we would be more than welcome some additional members. We have divided up into 4 subcommittees. The board had decided earlier on, actually 2 years ago when we started planning for our new 5-year plan, that we would keep the 4 focus areas because they were still appropriate and relevant. So we do have the 4 subcommittees of achievement, innovation, connection, and achievement, innovation, connection, and opportunity. Always leave one out. And we are about to really start to get the work of developing the goals underway. We did review a survey that was distributed to the committee. That was the first step. We also have the results of our student survey that Mr. Schaefer arranged for all of our secondary students. And that will be reviewed this coming Thursday, as well as a staff survey, which was put out this week. We will have a family survey, which will go out on Monday. And so hopefully with all of that feedback, the committee will have gone through all of that and taken that into account. We're going to be evaluating the current goals with the administration's recommendations as to which goals we believe should remain and need to, continued focus, possibly tweak some of them in a little bit different way, check some of them off our list, and then develop some new areas of focus. And we hope to have a final draft of the plan by June. In the area of achievement, Rame and Center Avenue teachers continue to work with our literacy consultant on the balanced literacy framework with our new reading program, Wonders, to guide literacy instruction across all of the grades. Rame and Center Avenue 4th and 6th grade students were recognized for their academic accomplishments on the Star Honor Roll as well. Congratulations to Connor Kelly, Kira O'Neill, Julia Passanisi, Katie McMahon, and Maddie Prusha on becoming DECA state medalists. And this means they finished in the top 10 of the state. So congratulations, and congratulations to our faculty advisor. Is that, who is our faculty advisor, Mr. Schaefer? Ms. Horvath. Well, congratulations to her as well. It's not easy. Our team has certainly done a great job this year, and congratulations to our individual students. The high school is proud to announce this year's valedictorian is Madeline Prucha, and salutatorian is Jason Miller. We are so proud of their accomplishments and look forward to honoring them at our June Board of Education meeting. Our website features their pictures and a summary of their impressive resumes, and we're waiting to hear where these students will be choosing to go to college. In the area of opportunity, our UPK lottery was held on February 17th, and as I said before, 56 families submitted their names for the lottery, and 30 free spots were awarded. There are 6 parent direct pay spots that will be offered to interested families. And obviously the program has grown in popularity, and we are thrilled to be planning for our second year. Center Avenue Student Council worked together to create a banner in preparation of the opening day of the athletic complex. So this will be an all-encompassing event for all of our schools to participate. Rame Avenue first graders celebrated the 120th day of school with a Rocking Through the 120-day celebration. In order to better prepare students for state testing, the high school is administering a mock Regents exams this week. Teachers will use the data from the exams to modify instruction and set the schedule for academies for better student success in June. That data will be very important to identify areas that our students need further focus. The high school launched its mentoring program. In this program, students are matched with an East Rockaway High School faculty member who will meet with the students to provide support to complete missing assignments, provide organizational strategies, and ultimately create a plan for success and just develop important interpersonal relationships for those students. Students in Ms. Pisano's Culinary 1 and 2 classes attended a live taping of the Rachel Ray Show on March 9th. The show included several recipes that students will try out later in the year in their classrooms. Look out for East Rockaway in the audience on July 4th. So please set your VCRs. I don't know how many of you will be watching Rachel Ray on July 4th, but you can certainly DVR it. School counselors brought 11 students to visit Barry Tech for Taste of Tech. This visit highlights all of the opportunities available at Barry Tech for our students, and we're excited to offer 12 new students spots in the CTE program next year, bringing the total number up to 23. I'm not sure if that's 23 we're at. Okay. So thank you also to Mrs. Grio. You were hearing more about that, for continuing to support and grow that program. The vision for our CTE program was to create enough spots so that every deserving student who can go and wants to go and is appropriate and will benefit from the program is able to attend. And so we've continued to increase those numbers to meet the needs of our students. And again, it's such an important opportunity for the students that choose that pathway, and many do choose that pathway and also go on to college as well. In the area of innovation, Center Avenue kindergarten students worked with Ms. Maney using KidPick to create digital images to match student writing about the text. The Bad Seed by Jory John. Through the read aloud and creation of digital images, the students were able to understand that it is never too late to change your behavior even after others still judge you. Rame Avenue fifth graders worked with Mrs. Healy to create game characters programmed to perform specific movements and sounds using coding strategy in our STEAM program. Students in Mrs. Horvath's career and financial management class played Spent, a game that allows participants to experience what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. Important life skill for sure. High school students in AP Biology and Science Research recently attended Cold Spring Harbor Lab, where they completed a hands-on bacterial transformation lab. Samples were taken back to the high school campus, where they were grown in a school incubator and then studied using black light. In addition, they also had the opportunity to tour the Cold Spring Harbor National Lab Museum. In the area of connection, Center in Rame Avenue held its parent-teacher conferences focused on helping students to build on identified strengths to support opportunities for growth. Rame students learned about the tradition of Irish bagpiping with a special presentation and mini parade led by Mr. Joseph Byra, and that is an annual event, and you can see a wonderful picture on our website. So thank you, please, to your husband, Mrs. Byra, on behalf of our district for providing that. The high school counseling department met with juniors to discuss post-secondary planning process. This allowed students to ask questions, view a college search using Supermatch and Naviance, and familiarize themselves with the material in the school counseling Google Classroom. And of course, the 86th annual Rock Rivalry concluded on Friday evening in person with a full auditorium. It was wonderful. The class of 2022 won their second straight cup, and this tradition returned in its true form this year, including live entrance performances, the murals, the stands, sports night. It was really wonderful, and we congratulate all of our students for their hard work. It's really unbelievable. Each year I am in awe of what our students can produce. I know Mr. Fisk, it was his first Rock Rivalry, and he was raving about how amazing it is, because you really can't describe it until you've seen it. So it's great to see people's first reactions. Students in advisory are participating in the annual Design and Sports Night T-shirt contest. In preparation for middle school sports night in May, the winning design will be distributed to all students in the coming weeks. And on Friday, May 18th, Homeland Security Officer O'Neill provided a presentation for our 7th and 8th grade students on the importance of reporting suspicious activity. The presentation highlighted the potential consequences of making a threat to a school, in a school or to a school, and the potential results of inappropriate social media posts and private chats, messages involving threats of violence. So again, this is part of our ongoing efforts to help our students to learn how to use social media appropriately and keep themselves and our school community safe. Students in grades 9, 10, and 11 participated in a virtual session entitled Creating an Inclusive Culture. We're all responsible with our consultant, Nancy Kaplan. Dr. Kaplan is working with students, teachers, and administrators to implement the district's diversity, equity, and inclusivity policy and initiative. Just a shout out to the Center and Rame Avenue PTAs for their continued support in providing curriculum enhancement grants for our teachers. And I would just like to echo what Mrs. O'Hagan just shared about our social media forum. We don't really get as great a turnout as we would like when we run events. So I really implore that you consider coming next Thursday night. I know everybody has been kind of cooped up with COVID, so it's a great opportunity to just socialize before the presentation at 5 o'clock. Join us for dinner in the cafeteria. It'll be great to see one another, to talk, to visit, and doesn't have to be about social media during dinner. And then stay for the presentation at 6 o'clock. We do have an esteemed panel, Dr. Vera Foyer from Northwell Health. She is the lead psychiatrist in our behavioral health clinic. Will be speaking on the effects of social media, the effects on student mental health of social media. She shared with us it's her most important topic for her because we have seen so much damage to student self-esteem and social emotional well-being through inappropriate use of social media, and the scars are really long-lasting. So we will learn a lot, I'm sure, from her. We also have Assistant District Attorney Scannell scheduled to join us as we do the 4th Precinct officers. We also have our Altair security consultants who will talk about the impact as well on school districts when social media threats are made or inappropriate use is made. And I think one of the most important things we're going to share with you is how do we handle these threats? Because we often hear, you're not telling us enough. We want to know more. We want to know what happened to the kid. And so we tell you that those things are confidential, but this is an opportunity to explain to you what our procedure is so that you know how hard we work behind the scenes to thoroughly investigate and evaluate every single incident that might be a potential threat or harm to any of our students. And it does keep our administrators very busy. And unfortunately, they should be spending their time on other things such as learning and improving outcomes for our students. But oftentimes these investigations can take hours and days. And so for so many reasons, this forum is so important. We want you to know what we know. We want to share it with you and start a dialogue. The title of this evening is Parents as Partners in Promoting Internet Safety. This is something that takes a community. It will take a village for this problem to be addressed, for us to work together, families and the school district, to help our students to use social media appropriately. It's not going away. Phones are not going anywhere. Every kid has one. They're using it, but we have to help them to understand how the deleterious effects that misuse of social media can have on them, particularly from a practical sense. How will it affect them in their future, their digital footprint, in their jobs, in applying to colleges? These things are out there forever. Also, what are the what is the possible criminal implications? And again, we want parents to know that not all of the posts that we see, and some of them are vile and awful and disturbing and upsetting, but they are not illegal. And that's a problem. We can't do anything about it. The police sometimes can't do anything about it. And you will hear their frustration and our frustration when that happens, because they really, a lot of it is related to free speech. And we respect that in our country. But again, we don't want to see our children and our community hurt by this kind of inappropriate language, as many of you have seen recently on some of the more serious posts. Now, this is something that we've had planned for quite a while because it has been an issue for us for quite a while. we were waiting until we could hold this in person because we feel that a live forum and a panel will be much more powerful than being at home. We have a Padlet set up where questions can be posted, comments can be posted. We've asked you if you wanted to make either anonymously or through videos your own views known, and that will be shared. And we really want this to be the start of a dialogue with our community. So this will be the first of other planned events. We did receive feedback a few years ago that when we did the team formula, many of our families enjoyed sitting in kind of a World Cafe environment where you spoke to one another. And I think that's what's really important because this is your community and we have to work together as parents to help our kids to stay safe. So we hope that this will just be the first of, and before the year ends, possibly hold another more informal dialogue with families later in May. We will have, as Mrs. O'Hagan said, we know it's hard to come out, so we're enticing you with raffles donated by our PTA and the board, myself, anybody interested in donating a raffle basket. We're going to have also giveaways for our students, and we will have extra credit. Kids will be given homework passes in the elementary school if their parents attend, and they will be given a ticket for points to use on a future exam at the secondary level. So yes, we are bribing you and your kids to come. We want you here, and it works. We've heard that when we did this once before, it actually worked. So I imagine they can keep those tickets and use them when they need them, the points on a test. We'll be providing babysitting, and it is most appropriate for children in grade 5 and up with their families, but we want all families to come, K through 12, and we will have babysitting for pre-K through grade 4. So if you have difficulty getting a sitter, please feel free to bring your children along, but we do need an RSVP. The RSVP is, there's a link on the form that was sent out. We will post it. The link is live on our website, right? Right. So you can RSVP. We want to make sure we have enough food and we have enough coverage for babysitting. So please, I'm begging you, come on out and make this a success. I don't want to be embarrassed by having District Attorney here and and Dr. Foyer not having an audience. I'm kidding. But it is important and it's for the safety of your children. So that concludes my report. And I'm going to turn it over now to Mrs. Creo, who's going to give you an update on the budget.
Thank you, Ms. Ruiz, and good evening, everyone. Our third budget work session was held on Tuesday, March 8th. The discussions included a 4-year review of expenditures, including a budget-to-budget increase from the current year to next year, as well as the actual expenditures for both the 1920 and the 2021 school year, allowing for greater transparency. In addition, we reviewed the BOCES aid, proposed technology projects, and a proposal to create a capital reserve fund as part of our continued long-term planning. Based on the most current information, the tax levy cap for East Rockaway is 3.99%, which represents an increase of $1.2 million. I'd like to reiterate, I say it every time I talk about the budget, and I will continue to say it. This is the tax levy cap, which we are required by law to calculate and report. I do not foresee the tax levy for the upcoming budget coming anywhere near 3.99%. So I tell you it's 3.99% because you'll see that in the papers. You'll hear that everywhere. It certainly will not be the tax levy that will be imposed on our residents. I can assure you of that. The budget presentation has been posted on the district's website. Please continue to check our website as all future presentations will be posted. Our next budget work session is scheduled for Tuesday, April 5th at 7 p.m. We plan to discuss the 22-23 district initiatives, 3-part budget, and the revenues. At that time, we will have all the necessary information to determine our final budget number and our tax levy. We encourage you to join us during these budget work sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Creo and Superintendent Ruiz. Moving on to item number 12, good and welfare. Congratulations to Megan Labrizzi and her husband Daniel on the birth of their twin boys, Theo and Charlie, born March 1st, 2022. Congratulations to Caitlin Kowarski and husband Gary on the birth of their daughter Vivian Ruth, born on March 10th, 2022. Congratulations to Ryan Fisk for earning his doctorate degree on February 28th, 2022. And condolences to Amy Weissman Canali and family on the passing of her grandmother, Arlene Zickerman. Condolences to the family of Ralph Grandinetti, former principal at Rame Avenue School, on his passing. Okay, moving on to item number 13, public comments. We are about to convene into the public comment period of our meeting. Please be reminded that the meeting is live streamed and being recorded. I encourage residents to contact the board at boardofeducation@ersd.org and to contact your child's teacher or appropriate administrator with any concerns. We believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. This is because we take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will, however, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting or have the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. Each individual is entitled to 3 minutes. The individual time limit will be enforced so as many members of the public who wish to speak may do so. At this time, if you have a comment, please complete the form prior to speaking, and comment cards are down at the front desk. Please make sure you have your name and address on that card. As a reminder, please do not directly address or speak about individual administrators, staff, or students. Personal issues should be addressed privately. Okay, if anybody would like to fill out a comment card, we have them down in front. And first person up is Frank Passanisi.
Good evening, board, administration, Dr. Ruiz. Thursday, March 3rd was sports night, Rock River Sports Night. First time in 3 years, these kids got together, had a heck of a good time, enjoyed themselves. The place was packed with mask optional. Everybody was comfortable from what I could see. There were no issues, no questions, nothing happened except good fun, good sport. And my daughter's class won, but we lost the cup. That's besides the point. At the end of the, during the course of the night, there was a political flag that was displayed. It was brought in by a student, not my children. It was displayed by multiple students throughout the night, not my children. It was danced around on the stage as the kids were dancing in between sets and whatever they're doing, not by my children. At the end of the night, when all was said and done, and people were leaving the school, my kids and my nephews got together for a picture with this flag. During this picture, someone jumped over my wife's shoulder to take a picture of that picture, to take that picture and post it on a private website, private social media site, and then look to attack my kids for what their names were and who they were affiliated with. That is so wrong, immoral, and outrageous. And one of those people who did it is a former member of that sat up at that dais there, that should be embarrassed to ever have sat at that dais as a former school board member, hiding under a pseudonym, under an assumed name on Facebook. That is embarrassing in itself. She couldn't even reveal herself, and I will not name names because that's a violation of this here. But anybody that doesn't know my kids and my kids' compassion doesn't know my kids. But everybody in the school, they're praised. Anybody can X? Yes, my son and my nephew may be a little rambunctious at times, but overall, they're good kids that mean well and care about everybody in this community, just like I do, and just like my whole family does, and have for many years. As an alumni in this school, I'm embarrassed by some of the stuff that goes on here. I am proud of a lot of stuff that goes on here. I'm proud of Rock Rivalry and the traditions that it keeps. We all had a great time, and it's soiled by one or two individuals who want to pick on kids that they thought were an easy prey. That's all I have to say about this. It's been on Facebook. It's been on the Herald. I'm here to speak about it tonight. I'm done just discussing this issue. I just wanted to share that with the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Frank. Okay, next up is Michelle Gamache.
I wish to address the incident that occurred during the Rock Rivalry Sports Night and the unfortunate aftermath that carried into our community during the days that followed. After hearing about the incident from students who attended that evening, I was not surprised to read the email from Ms. Ruiz less than 24 hours later. While I was relieved to know that the presence of a political flag in the high school gymnasium was perceived by our superintendent to be an inappropriate act of political grandstanding, I am deeply disturbed by the response of members of our community, which include a member of this board who publicly espoused his approval of this behavior on Facebook. I am most concerned about a culture that seems to be way more committed to upholding tradition than pushing our community forward. Specifically, a culture propagated by some who hold positions of power that reinforce an agenda of resisting progress in the protection and inclusion of all students. Some of our community members seem to believe that their voices matter more than others. This could not have been illustrated any more clearly than it was in the wake of March 3rd on Facebook, with community members supporting their children in this act of political grandstanding, calling out other community members and using aggressive language intended to instill a sense of fear and intimidation. The purpose of the Dignity Act, that no student shall be subjected to harassment or bullying by employees or students on school property or at a school function, includes cyberbullying, and political party as a basis for discrimination and or harassment. There is simply no place for political campaigning in our public schools. It is completely inappropriate, as is introducing any platform into a school-sponsored event intended to create division and animus among the students, parents, and faculty. I'm interested in knowing that the laws are explained and understood thoroughly by the people who hold the education, safety, and well-being of all children in this community in their hands. The Dignity Act is the law, and it must be upheld by those elected and hired to serve our school community. We need to do better as a community. Inclusion is not a preference. It is our obligation, both legally and morally. If we remain divided as a community, we will fail in pushing this community forward, and it will be our children who pay the ultimate price. Thank you for your time. I'm reading this comment on behalf of Jennifer Racanelli, East Rockaway High School class of 1992. She is currently celebrating her son's 9th birthday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Marsh. Okay, Keith Gamache.
Watching the public comment period last month from home, I felt that some of the opinions expressed were uninformed and unfair. To accuse the school district board and administration of being indifferent and even hostile toward the mental health of our students demonstrates how unaware you are of the efforts and resources put towards student mental health over the last several years, even predating the onset of the pandemic. 1 year ahead of a state requirement to provide K-12 counseling services, this district invested in providing this vital service. 2 of our sitting board members, Mr. McNally and Mrs. O'Hagan, made student mental health a priority during their campaigns for the board. With their help, the district entered into a partnership with Northwell Health and 5 neighboring school districts, establishing a first-of-its-kind relationship to provide high-quality mental health services for the children and families of East Rockaway. This couldn't have been achieved without the leadership of Mrs. Ruiz, Mrs. Scrio, and their staff, who provided numerous hours dedicated to researching, negotiating, reviewing contracts, analyzing budgets, and crunching numbers to ensure that this board priority could become a sustainable reality. Supporting mask wearing or against mask wearing, we are all exhausted from living through a continuing pandemic. Tonight, I wanted to thank everyone involved in taking such forward-thinking progressive measures to keep our children safe while still providing a high-quality education and experiences that our children will remember despite the challenges we've all faced. Thank you for your leadership and service. Last month's board member comments shared a common message of unity. Unfortunately, one board member is telling people who are hurt and offended to get over it and get over yourselves is not the effective leadership or temperament needed to keep our schools unified. His comments on social media demonstrated how little he either understands or respects the oath he took to uphold the law and constitutions of the state of New York and the United States to dutifully carry out his responsibilities as a board member. The board is about to make one of the most important decisions a board gets to make, hiring a new superintendent. This individual has to be fully knowledgeable about current school law and be willing to guide the board through tough legal matters, even when the law may differ from their own personal opinion. I hope the board will be mindful of this throughout their screening process to assure hiring a school leader who will always be looking out for all of our students' best interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mash. Next person up is Mark Ginocchio.
Thank you so much for your time. As a resident parent of a child in East Rockaway schools, a product of East Rockaway schools, East Rockaway High School class of 1999, and a person whose roots in this community goes back generations, I was greatly dismayed to hear about the incident that occurred March 3rd at East Rockaway Sports Night, as well as the subsequent discourse in this community surrounding the event. I laud the superintendent's prompt, measured, and unequivocal response to the incident. Political propaganda, whether it be signs, posters, flags, etc., does not belong at a school event, especially if it hasn't been approved by a school's administration, regardless of the views or beliefs the material represents. In the aftermath of this incident, I can only hope it serves as a teachable moment for our community about the appropriate time and place for personal expression and about the boundaries that should be baked into the public school experience. As someone who many members of our school board may remember as an outspoken and often hard-headed student at East Rockaway High School, I would have been horrified if a group photo I was involved with at a school function like Sports Night were used as political propaganda without my consent. I also would have likely been afraid to speak up in the moment against the offending students for fear of bullying and physical retaliation. That's not an indictment against the East Rockaway student body or our community, but just a simple statement of fact of what high school life is like for many. Given how much more heated and divisive our political discourse has gotten in recent years, I think it's even more important that we continue to honor Board of Education Policy 1511. Given the amount of turmoil, tragedy, and pain we have all experienced over the past 2 years, as this pandemic wanes and more restrictions are relaxed, we should not be tolerant of the idea of using school events as an outlet to court division, hostility, and strife. Our community needs to put aside its ideological differences and celebrate these opportunities to come together and unite. There are countless ways for our children to express themselves and their beliefs, both in school and on their personal time, whether that's by joining student organizations, a sports team, a performance group, or volunteering after hours for a cause or institution they are passionate about. On a closing note, I just want to affirm that after graduating from East Rockaway High School in 1999, I went on to leave this community for several years, starting my family in Brooklyn, before being drawn back in 2019 to the place where I grew up and where my mother taught at Center Avenue School for 40 years. Not a day has gone by where I haven't remarked to my wife, who is not a product of East Rockaway, about how much this community has grown and how much more exceptional the schools and their faculty and administration have become. Let us all continue that excellence in taking and maintaining a stand against behavior meant to be inappropriately provocative and distracting to our children from the kinds of engagements and connections that have been so precious and rare in recent times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we have Dina Arnold.
Hi, thank you all for coming. I just have, you heard a lot from my brother, but I just wanted to say what I felt. Asking the identities of my boy's niece and nephew on a private page is a very cowardly act. What right do you have putting them on a private group and asking their identity? They weren't committing a crime. They were standing side by side, smiling, holding a flag. What exactly were they looking to gain by taking their identity? My children are just like anyone else's children. They have dreams, wants, choices, and opinions. We as Americans have these rights. Who are you to silence them? To the community members that singled out my children, niece and nephew, shame on you. You are not teaching equity. You continue to stir the pot and teach more hatred and disrespect. I feel you don't have the best interest of your community. If you want to be a hero, step away from the keyboard and do something useful and helpful. To the people that sat by and watched my children get bullied in this private group, shame on you. Some of you didn't like it when a similar situation happened to your children. Why'd you allow it to happen to other people's children? As for the letter the school sent out, how dare you not get the facts, all the facts in the investigation? Not once of my children asked anything about the events that went on when they were getting beat down right in the middle of it all. You weren't even there. You should have watched the live feed. The flag was visible for everyone to see the entire evening. I went to the school here. Neither of the two gyms are that big. If someone has a flag in a room, everybody can see it. If it wasn't an issue that night, then why is it an issue the next day when the parents had something to say about it? I myself was grateful for sports night. The kids shared something they haven't seen in 2 years? They learned how to work together and enjoy each other. They showed good sportsmanship, they smiled, and had a great time. Most of the students danced and cheered, smiled and screamed. Was there a Trump flag there? Yeah, but I'm sorry if that's all that you saw.
Thank you, Dina. Okay, next up is Deneen Salupa.
Good evening. Let's talk about policy. I've been in this district for a long time, 20 years, and I have been reviewing policies for a very long time. I'd like to know the specifics, maybe not now, about the political policy. And does that deal with all the schools, everything in the school? Was this flag the only policy that we want removed? Or the Kamala Harris flag in Rain Avenue School, does that count as a political agenda? Everything we do in our district is political. All the mandates handed down from this Albany are political. When we were told we cannot have a gender-specific mascot, that was political. There's also a policy, I believe it's still on the books, that parents are not allowed to submit pictures of students to the administration. And from what we were told, the administration, do not know if this is true or not, requested those pictures from said group. I'd like to know, maybe not in this forum, was that the policy? The day that we're supposed to be honoring our police officers are wearing blue, I want to know whose decision that was not to do that. Was that a political policy? It is all about dividing the community. If there were 11 emails the day of to the board, there was 11 emails obtaining to this. I'm going to say at least one were from Frank and Dina. So that leaves, and maybe one from my sister as well. So that leaves 8 coming from community members, probably upset about it. The kids had no idea that this was going to be divisive. This is on the parents. And maybe if parents, all of us, learn to keep our mouths shut and work together as a community, we can come together instead of calling people racist, psycho, dumb, bullies, ignorant, and on and on and on and on. We're all, every single one of us, are guilty of behaving irrationally. But this has nothing to do with the children, and I thank God they stand for something.
Thank you, Deneen. Next up is Jonathan Menezes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Menezes. I have been a resident of East Rockaway for 32 years and a graduate of the class of 2007. I've walked these hallways. I've sat at those infamous red benches. I was among greatness, great names like Mrs. Grace, Mrs. Giannacchio, Mr. Faulkner, Miss Stender, Miss Orzano, Mr. Bishop, Mr. Yosha, Mr. Cimarelli. I was in Mr. Volpus's class many times, obviously, and I was actually in Mrs. O'Hagan's English class many, many years ago. Just a couple. Some of my formative years happened within these walls. As a resident and a parent of a child coming to school age, I look at what happened during sports night and simply just cringe. Where has the district gone since I left many years ago? Sports night and rock rivalry overall was one of my favorite times within the school. It was a time where my classmates and I shared experiences, we built stuff, we built upon each other, we came out of our shells and became people. I cannot imagine nor fathom how my experience would have been tarnished by someone using a political flag during this time. The district, the administration, or those simply in charge that night should have stepped in with sensitivity around the subject and simply spoken to the student. It appears there were multiple opportunities to do so, judging by the multiple pictures that everyone's talking about, and even a video posted to the East Rockaway High School Instagram page, where the student was shrouded in the flag in the large gym. This room has a couple people in it. You'll hear varying opinions, mine included, on this topic. You'll hear a few very loud voices who run divisive and toxic Facebook pages within this community. This situation, as I'm sure you're all aware, has devolved into who is getting the most likes on a comment and hurling insults at your neighbor. This is not the spirit of rock rivalry. It never was and should not be expected. I'm sorry. It never was and should not be accepted as such. We as parents, administrators, and community members need to ensure that students are given every opportunity and every outlet to express themselves, but also make sure that we create a space for all, especially be careful around divisive topics like politics. Plain and simple, this all could have been avoided if the district did something. Whoever was in charge that night did something, did anything. The school failed these kids in our community. Thank you. Before I go, I just wanted to say, I did want to commend the superintendent for her response and letter to our community. Your leadership will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next up is Kevin Dennis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of a parent within the community. This letter is not mine, just want that to be well known. So please bear with me. This letter was originally intended and sent to Mr. Schaefer, but I want to share this with the board as well as the community. As we know, a political flag was draped over the shoulders of a student throughout Rock Rivalry Sports Night. The same flag was then used in many group photos. Afterwards, the community received a letter from Ms. Ruiz regarding district policy and how this act of political grandstanding was in direct violation with our district policy. Thank you for the immediacy of the response and recognizing the seriousness of this matter. In addition to our district policy, this act was in violation of New York State's Dignity for All Students Act. DASA seeks to provide the state's public elementary and secondary school students with a safe and supportive environment free from discrimination, intimidation, taunting, harassment, and bullying on school property, a school bus, and/or school function. Grandstanding behavior with the political flag, drawing the attention away from a community building event within the school to a divisive political figure was an act of intimidation. Obviously, the decision was made to not address the child with his flag during sports night. I can't imagine having to make that decision. In the interest of keeping families safe, I can understand why the decision was made to address the child after the evening had ended. As we all know, the climate in East Rockaway community is wrought with political division and agitated with misinformation. I'm thankful that you made a difficult decision to keep the focus on sports night and everyone's safe. Many in the group photo of the 10th and 12th graders are not Trump supporters. They didn't know a banner would be raised after posing. Trump supporters in town are using this image to show that the quote unquote kids are fine with it. Many students in that photo are embarrassed, but do not want to rile these Trump supporters. This is not right. I look to you, Mr. Schaefer, to lead the school through this difficult moment. Although a school board member expressed delight for this flag on social media in response to this incident, surely the Board of Education knows the law and that all members must uphold the law. Thank you so very much for this. We need to be better, so let's do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, Marion Cooney.
Good evening, and thank you. Those of you that are volunteering your time for the betterment of my community, protecting my tax dollars. I am somebody who wrote some of these emails because I sat watching the meeting at home on Zoom or whatever you want to call it and was appalled at the division in this community. It's sick to my stomach. Sitting in this room, I'm getting sick to my stomach. Can we not combine on something, the good of our children? These are Ukraine colors. Why don't we do something effective with that so we can all get together instead of fighting the battles? When we had the discussion over masks, who's for masks, who's against masks, and I wrote a letter. I wonder what the next division's gonna be. Didn't take me long, one day, and the next division became political. There's no space for these divisions in our school system. We have children that are following the example of the parents. If we don't change something, we're gonna have a more serious problem than we have. I love the idea of this media education because people, I don't think, realize what you do to people. I'm a brave woman coming up here. You know what? I felt intimidated. My legs are shaking because I am not with the norm of some family members that I have in this room. I'm going to state my fact because that's what I do. See, I'm concerned about the children, the next generation, the generation that's here. I am a product. I graduated in the class of 1972. I stayed in this community. I'm raising grandchildren in this community. I have 10 grandchildren that are in the school or becoming into the school. I care. I care. Me caring is not enough. Something's got to be done so they care, and then we'll all be good. I don't have a prepared speech. I know it's a 3-minute limit, but I'm talking from my heart that something has to be done for the children of this community, combining for the good of the community and the children of this world, because we're a sick community right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Marion. Luciana Pozo.
Hello, I'm speaking to you on behalf of being the Dignity Club president. The events that occurred on sports night was, I can tell you with complete honesty and 100% certainty, mostly everyone in that room was uncomfortable. And as the youngest person in this room, I can assure you, you do not understand what it is to be like in East Rockaway School District as a minority female in the school. Everyone's asking, why was it an issue? after the fact? Well, I can tell you for certainty that most of the kids, if not your kids, they're afraid. And it's because I have been harassed by staff and their children, and nothing was done about it. That staff's friends, who are also staff, have come up to me and told me that wasn't appropriate. You shouldn't have said that. Then why was I allowed to be called an illegal narco who should go back to my country? East Rockaway School has failed me, and I can say that I'm glad to be graduating here in 3 months' time. That flag, the reason why nobody was talking about it that day is because we're scared. Because half of this school, because I see no representation in this crowd or on this board. It's embarrassing, honestly, because my friends from other school districts have come up to me and said, Lucy, how is that possible? Like, something like that is happening at your school. And I just said, well, that's just the way it is. Because in kindergarten, there was 3 minority students. 3. There are maybe 3 black kids in my grade. And yes, the middle school has become more diverse, but the staff has not, and their minds haven't changed. In Dignity Club right now, we're doing an event to go to advisories and talk about Caribbean and Afro hair to spread awareness.
Let it go. Let it go.
And that's because the advisor has witnessed in her class comments that are being made to kids of color and people of color. And she is not a minority, and she's aware of what's going on at the school. And I just want to say that I am disgusted that half the things go on in the school, and the East Rockaway School District has failed me and many others. Because I've been going here since kindergarten, and nothing has changed. During the 2016 elections, that I think was the worst year of my life. Because half of my grade has said really hurtful things to me. And it just needs to be acknowledged at this point. And I don't care if I hurt anyone in this room's opinion, because I honestly don't care for this school anymore.
Thank you, Shannon. Next up is Jennifer Barbier. I'm so sorry. I butcher your name every time.
I wasn't even going to speak, but I really can't control myself. Like I said, I had no intentions of speaking. I want to commend you, though, for this young lady for speaking, because that takes a lot of courage to come up here. There has been an unreal amount of drama around this flag issue. And like I said, it doesn't affect me personally, but as a member of the community, I feel compelled to speak. It is divisive. I understand that. But everyone keeps using the phrase grandstanding, which by definition is that it's done to impress onlookers. I can't say I believe that these children did it to impress other people. I'm an educator myself. And if there's a policy that it's not allowed, it should have been addressed in the moment. Okay, it wasn't. But what I'm hearing from someone who's sitting here taking it all in from both sides is that this social media event needs to address the parents as well. Kids are guilty, okay, but they're kids. We're adults, we're setting the example. And for parents, and I read the post on Facebook, I saw it, it was open to everyone. For parents to go on a website on Facebook and post pictures of children and ask questions and have these issues outright, that's not setting the example. So if we're questioning why children are doing certain things, I think some of us parents need to take a look in the mirror, because that event is going to be just as important to the parents, because some parents in this community, unfortunately, don't know how to control themselves, right? It's not appropriate. If we're not, I'm not a detective, so I'm not going to be posting pictures of anyone's children. I'm going to tell you, if my child's picture was posted asking for their name and who they were, I would be up in arms. So I think that part of that focus, a main part of that focus, needs to be on parents' responsibility and how they act on social media. Because really, our kids learn from us. So if our parents are doing it, I don't know what to tell you. So I hope that's a main focus of that, because it's actually quite disturbing that parents are doing those things as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that is all we have for our public comment section. So moving on to the next item, 14, board member comments. Start with Mr. McNally.
Okay, a few things I don't want to forget at first. Universal Pre-K program, Ms. Kellogg, Ms. Jones, you guys are doing awesome work. It was so nice seeing that presentation tonight and all of the wonderful work you're doing. So thanks so much, it's great. And congrats to the seniors on their second Rock Rivalry in a row. Congrats to everyone in Rock Rivalry. It was so nice to see normalcy and see everyone back, and it was just great to see. Dr. Fisk, congratulations on your doctorate. I know that's a lot of hard work, very well deserved. Now, when I ran for the school board, the main reason that I did it was communication. And I just felt like maybe I could help in having the entire community represented, not some of the community and not others, but the entire community. And you know, what's happening nationwide now and in our community shows that, you know, we need to come together. We need to talk about it. We don't all agree on everything, and that's okay. We don't have to agree, but we need to come together and talk. And some of you have heard me say this before. If there's anything we can do, if there's anything I can do, I did this because I want to represent the community. So you can come knock on my door anytime, call me, come to my house, and we can discuss it. Up here tonight, we can listen and then we can give feedback later. But I sincerely mean this. If anyone needs to talk, come knock on my door. That's why I'm here. Come and talk to me. We can talk this out. And I'm hoping when someone else is up here, I can do the same thing. And I can go to your house and we can discuss it, or on the phone or whatever. But not everyone is always going to agree. That's just the way it is. But if we can talk about it, if we can just talk and listen to each other, maybe we can come to some common middle ground. That's all I have. Thank you.
It's a difficult one tonight to comment on, be very honest with you. So I'm really going to keep it real brief because I need time to digest. When I see a student come up and say that the school system has failed them, I don't know what to say. That means that I guess my life, a professional life that I've had for 41 years in education, I've never had a student come back and say they failed. We failed them. I need time to process. I will process that. But I will tell you one thing tonight, is that when we listen to the community, that's when the board is effective. You don't hear us tonight making comments back, because after this meeting, I will make a motion to go into executive session, and we will speak as a board, and we will speak about things that we have to do here in East Rockaway. I know one thing, I don't waste my time. I volunteer for the school board to give service back. For 25 years, that enjoyment that it gave to me, my children who attend here, and I don't want any child leaving the school district with what I just heard tonight.
I'm actually going to reserve my statement this evening as well, which I usually never do. I agree with most of what was said. I will say that it was amazing to see the children back at sports night, at Rock Rivalry, behaving like children, having a good time. The one thing I heard from everybody was unity. Whether you agree or disagree, forget about Trump, because he's not even the president right now. What is important is our children's social, emotional well-being. And if we put the focus back on what our goals are for our kids in our district, then I think we can find a common ground and come together, no matter who you are and what you believe or you don't believe. Reach out, to Pete's point. Extend an olive branch. You'd be very surprised when you speak to someone that you've never spoken to before, the value they can add to your life. So with all that being said, I'm most happy about our children being back to normal. And again, to Pete's point, reach out. I'd be happy to speak with any one of you. Thank you.
I also agree. I ran for this board for every child in this district, not just for mine, not just for the ones that look like mine, for every child in this district. So I have comments written as well. I think we do need to go in executive session, because there's a lot of things that were said tonight that takes a little bit to digest. Mrs. Cooney, I'm not just saying it because I know I'm a little kid, but we have to come together on something. I mean, Rock Rivalry and Sports Night were both great events. I was lucky enough to attend both. Sports Night, minus this flag, and again, I was there and I did see it, and at the time, I didn't really think much of it. I saw it, and whatever, I'll reserve that. But the best part of that night was when every class, it's a competitive event, and I played in it, and you want to win. But while the judges were inside, every grade was dancing together. They had underclassmen were out there dancing. It was a great event for the kids to come together. And that one or two or three, an act of a couple of kids to bring a flag that they probably don't even know what it means. It's just cool. And it ruined it for everybody. It's a shame. And it shows the division, which is actually good for us, because now it shows the division in the neighborhood that we really need to do something about. And it's not just us, it's everybody. So, and also this social media event, I think it's very important for everyone to be there. Kids, adults, we have to do better. So, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you heard from me earlier, and everybody, what you had to say. We were always such a close-knit community. We need to go back to that. And it starts with the adults. We need to do better. And we need to remember this is for the kids. Everything we do, it's about our children. So that being said,
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to the board. We go into executive session.
So moved.
Sorry, what is the grounds for going into executive session?
Discussion of personnel issues that occurred tonight that I heard from the audience. Thank you.
okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 9:03. So moved by Mr. McNally.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiMatteo. Have a good night, everybody.